Attention Chicago Bears fans, we're heading to London, and our secondary is in a bit of a pickle. But don't sweat it, because we've brought in some last-minute reinforcements. 2 defenders are stepping up from the practice squad to fill the gaps left by injuries in our defense. How ready are they to face off against a fierce offense? Will they survive the onslaught from Jacksonville? This is definitely something you don't want to miss. But wait, there's more. Tensions are running high. Remember that brutal brawl against the Panthers? Well, the fines are in, and while one of ours got hit, the cost was way steeper for Carolina. The drama keeps unfolding. What does this mean for our offensive line, and how will it impact our next showdown on the field? And finally, the monster on the defensive line is roaring louder than ever. Montez Sweat is stealing the spotlight. But there's another pass rusher climbing the ranks fast, and rival offenses are already shaking in their cleats. Could this be the new terror of the NFL? I promise, this news is going to leave you speechless. Now I'm asking you, who's going to cover the Chicago Bears secondary this weekend? Because I've got the scoop, and things are getting complicated, my friends. The team has had to make some interesting moves ahead of the game in London against Jacksonville. Here's the deal. 2 defensive backs from the practice squad have been promoted to the active roster. That's right, you heard me. Tarvarius Moore and Amir Speed will be stepping up to try and fill the gaps in our secondary. And now, I'm saying this. Is this really the best solution the Bears have? Because if we look at the injuries, it's a mess. Tyreek Stevenson is nearly out with a calf injury. Terrell Smith isn't even going to be available with that hip issue, and Jaquan Brisker, well, he's out with a concussion. So, are these 2 guys really going to solve the problem? We already know Moore has some experience with the 49ers, and he played in the win against the Rams. But Amir Speed? Now that's got me worried. This guy was drafted in the 5th round by the Patriots and then cut. The Colts picked him up, and he spent more time on special teams than in defense. 12 defensive snaps and over 200 on special teams. Is this the best the Bears can do right now? Is it enough? Because in my opinion, teams that are relying on practice squad players for their secondary are in trouble. But wait, we're not done here. Jake Martin, the defensive end, is going to stay on the injured list. And you know what? That's concerning. This is a guy with 7 seasons and 18 sacks in his career, who's been dealing with a foot injury since training camp. The Bears opened that 21-day window to activate him. But folks, he's still out. Now I'm asking you, what's going to happen with our pass rush? With the current state of the defense, especially in the secondary, it's hard not to question whether the Bears are ready to face the Jaguars. Because let's be clear, without a solid secondary and with a questionable pass rush, how are we going to stop Trevor Lawrence and company? I'm telling you this, if we can't pressure the quarterback or cover deep, the Bears are going to have a long afternoon in London. And that leads me to the next question. Can the Bears pull off a win against the Jaguars with these kinds of defensive adjustments? Do we have faith that Moore and Speed will rise to the occasion? Because let me tell you, sometimes these emergency moves can pay off. But when you're up against a team like Jacksonville with a dynamic offense, I think we're relying too much on these practice squad players. All right, friends, let's talk about what's really going on with Matt Pryor and that $6,527 fine for his involvement in the brawl against the Panthers. Yes, folks, the guy got ejected along with J.C. Horn from the Panthers, and this is where I ask, is it really worth losing control in a game we already had in the bag? I'm telling you this. In football, you've got to fight, sure, but on the field, during the plays, not in fights. Now, Pryor's fine is the lowest of all the penalties handed out in that game. What's up with that? J.C. Horn from the Panthers got slapped with an $11,817 fine for unnecessary roughness, and his teammate DJ Johnson got hit with nearly $7,000. But I ask you fans, isn't it concerning that our players are getting ejected and fined? Of course it is. Pryor isn't the first, nor will he be the last. Montez Sweat, TJ Edwards, Zach Pickens, Tyreek Stevenson, they've all been fined this season. This leads me to question, is there a discipline problem on our team? Or is it just bad luck? I think the Bears need to be smarter. Pryor can't afford these kinds of mistakes. Fines don't just hit the player. They also affect the team's image. Now, don't get me wrong, Matt Pryor is a solid player, but the question is, why get into a fight when you already have the game won? Jaquan Brisker, on the other hand, came out injured after an illegal hit from Tommy Tremble, who got fined $17,083 for using his helmet as a weapon. Brisker's dealing with a concussion, and it's the third one in 3 years. Here's my question. Should the league do more to protect our players? I think so. We can't keep losing talent because of dirty plays. Now looking ahead, we've got to face the Jaguars, and this is where things get interesting. Are we ready to handle a team as strong as them? What do you all think? I'll tell you this. If we can't control our impulses and improve our discipline, we could be in serious trouble. It's time for the Bears to stop getting into fights and focus on what really matters. Winning games. Now I ask you, how much longer are they going to ignore the Montez Sweat effect? I think it's high time the league takes seriously what's happening with this Chicago Bears pass rusher. Sure, he only has 2 sacks this season so far, but don't get it twisted. His presence on the field is driving opposing teams crazy. Double coverage, triple coverage. That, my friends, is what you call the Sweat effect. And while the opponents are busy trying to slow him down, other players are capitalizing on that distraction to shine. Now I ask you, who's shining the most because of this? I'm telling you, it's Gervon Dexter. Gervon Dexter is starting to emerge as another beast on the Bears' defensive line. Why? Because while everyone is worried about Sweat, Dexter has been ramping up his production like crazy. And it's not just because of the Sweat effect. Dexter has worked his tail off the field to step up. 4 sacks and 11 pressures this season. Do you know what that means? The kid is dominating. And this isn't just a lucky streak. No, this is the result of discipline, work ethic, and pure skill. Now tell me, who here thought Dexter would outshine Jalen Carter in stats? I'll tell you this, not even the most optimistic fans saw that coming. Let me be clear, the Bears don't have a perfect defense. But you know what? When your defensive line starts generating this kind of pressure, the rest of the team can breathe a little easier. And boy, do they need it. Because I'll be honest, that secondary is riddled with injuries. But the question is, can the Bears hold their ground in the NFC North? I believe they can, but it all depends on how this defensive line performs in the upcoming games. Let's talk a bit more about Dexter. Eric Washington, the defensive coordinator, made it clear. The guy is executing his assignments almost perfectly. Now tell me, how many players in their second year have that kind of maturity? Dexter isn't just taking on the 3 technique as if he's been playing it his whole life. He's also lining up as a nose tackle in some packages. That's versatility. That's commitment. But I ask you, is it enough to just be a great player? Or do you need that winning mentality to take the next step? I'm telling you, Dexter has both. He hasn't let his own achievements impress him. And that, my friends, is key for long-term success. Eric Washington said it best. Dexter isn't satisfied with what he's done. He's looking beyond toward bigger goals, not just for himself, but for the whole team. Chicago Bears fans, before we wrap up, here's a key question. What do you think will happen if our secondary doesn't step up? If we can't stop the air attacks from teams like the Jaguars, we could be in serious trouble. I want to hear your thoughts. Are the moves the team has made enough, or do we need more? At the end of the day, it's all about winning championships. So, should the Bears crack down harder on discipline, or are these fines and penalties just part of the game? Drop your comments and let's talk. And here's my prediction. If Dexter keeps playing at this level, we're looking at the next big monster in Chicago's defense. Do you believe this defense has what it takes to keep us competitive all season? Let me know your thoughts. Remember, this channel is family. We live and breathe Bears football. If you haven't yet, subscribe to be part of this awesome community and stay updated on all the Bears news. Comment, subscribe, and stay connected. See you in the next video, Bears fans.